You're not even a fraction of my lover. If you disappeared, no one would notice. My wife sneered at dinner. Then she moved him into our home and planned to sell it, until her own lawyer said something that left her powerless. If you disappeared, nobody would notice. My wife said it like the punchline of a joke, like a casual jab thrown over a charcuterie board during a Tuesday dinner where everyone wore denim jackets, as if they had planned it. The table erupted in laughter. Her Pilates friend practically spat sparkling water on the shrimp skewers. Even Jim, her old college fling-turned-family friend, laughed and said, "Damn, girl, that is savage." I did not laugh. I did not even blink. I just looked at her. I really looked at her. Her fake tan, her two white veneers, the way she never touched her wedding ring anymore, unless it was to spin it like a coin on the kitchen counter while waiting for her Uber Eats order. I finished my wine in one long swallow. I wiped the corner of my mouth with a cloth napkin that probably cost more than my first truck and said quietly, "Challenge accepted." She smirked, as if I were playing along, but I was not. That night, I lay down again in the guest room, the one that had become my designated sleeping place since she needed more space to stretch. The bed was too soft, the walls too thin, and the silence too loud. I stared at the ceiling fan, counting the rotations until my eyes went dry. Down the hall, she was laughing out loud on the phone, not whispering, not hiding it. Full-blown laughter. It was not subtle anymore. There was a time when she used to ask if I wanted chamomile tea before bed. Now I was lucky if she did not accidentally forward her erotic messages to my number. I once found a message that said, "He is like a sofa. He is always there. He is never exciting." I did not confront her. I just copied it, pasted it into a blank document, and filed it in a folder titled Closure. I have been building that folder for years. Photos, screenshots, copies of shared credit statements, the receipt for a painting I paid for that she later claimed to have found at an auction, bank transfers, a home equity loan application that I never signed, but that somehow had my name written in the co-applicant field. I was not angry. Not anymore. It is strange when love dies. It does not go out with a bang. It rots slowly. It sours. And one day you are just a shadow to the person you built your life with. At 2:11 in the morning I got up, walked barefoot across the hall, and stood in the doorway of her bedroom. She was asleep, with mascara still stuck to her eyelashes, her phone under her hand like a security blanket. I thought about all the nights I spent lying next to her, wondering why I felt so lonely. She stirred, but did not wake up. I went into the closet, took out the duffel bag I kept hidden behind her collection of yoga mats, and went back to the guest room. Inside the bag, a pair of boots, my birth certificate, a prepaid phone, a USB with every document I had been filing since the day she stopped saying good morning without first checking her notifications. I sat at the small desk in the corner. I wrote a single line on a yellow sticky note. Challenge accepted. No name, no goodbye, no forwarding address. By dawn I was gone, with no GPS signal, no trail of breadcrumbs, no dramatic ending, just absence of the kind that lingers, the kind that accrues interest, the kind that eventually collects its debt. The morning sun rose over the suburban cul-de-sac, as if nothing had changed. The birds chirped. The sprinklers came to life on the well-manicured lawns. Karen, the neighbor, waved at our window as she ran by in her compression leggings, fake as can be. But inside that two-story mausoleum we called home, the master bedroom door remained closed and the guest room bed was perfectly made. My toothbrush was still in its holder, my slippers still under the edge of the bed, but the man was gone. I slipped out before the sky turned pink, like a ghost sliding through drywall. I only took what mattered. The duffel bag, the folder, the prepaid phone. I left behind my watch, my wedding ring, my tie clips, every accessory that had ever made me look like the stable, invisible husband at company cocktail parties and Christmas parties. No note, no goodbye, not even a passive-aggressive sticky note on the fridge. Let her wonder, let her sit with the silence. The folder stayed with me. It was 2 inches thick and labeled Personal Financial Review. But inside was a slow-burning recipe for disappearing. Access codes to bank accounts, old debt ledgers, screenshots of her Venmo transfers to someone labeled Pilates teacher, eggplant emoji, printouts of title transfers, tax returns, and loan documents buried with just enough ambiguity to open a door if I needed to walk through it. Every time she made fun of me for being obsessed with paperwork, I would smile. I would let her laugh. At 10 in the morning, she sent a message. Where are you? You did not say anything this morning. At noon? Seriously, this is not funny. By 6 in the evening, I imagined the panic finally rose in her throat like a warm slug. She started calling. My number was already disconnected, so she did what people like her always do. She made up a story for her Pilates group. He just needed some time alone. For her mother, work stress. He is unwinding in the mountains. For her new boy toy, let us call him Brad 2.0. Probably some tearful story about how I abandoned her without warning. A victim narrative with just the right amount of salt to season her next Instagram post. The truth is, she did not even look. Not really, because in her mind I still orbited her like the moon. Boring, predictable, always there, she told her sister on FaceTime. He will come crawling back. He always does. Men like him don't survive without someone to hold the flashlight for them. I survived. I thrived. I moved to my uncle's old cabin, tucked away in the folds of West Virginia, where cell service goes to die and the mail arrives whenever God feels like it. I had no Wi-Fi, no neighbors, no homeowners association telling me to repaint the shutters. Just silence and time. You would be surprised what silence can teach you. The first 3 weeks I was numb, not sad, just detoxing, like scraping the tar out of your lungs after quitting a lifetime of cigarettes. Do you realize how addicted you were to being needed by someone who did not see you? Then the calculations began. With a laptop running on stolen Wi-Fi from a gas station and a prepaid data modem, I began to watch her, not with binoculars, but through the county clerk's office and social media. Public data is the ugly duckling of the internet. Nobody hides. There she started posting again. Beach photos, deep quotes about finding joy, and provocative selfies with the new marble countertops in the background. Our countertops. In one post, she is popping champagne with Brad 2.0. Caption for new beginnings and renovation dreams. Cheers. New beginnings. Grateful heart. I almost laughed. He was an aspiring real estate influencer with a G-Wagon and no business license. The kind of person who thinks escrow is a protein supplement. They thought they were leveling up. And I was just a footnote, a shadow in the margins. But shadows, if you know how to move them, can block out the sun. So I watched, I documented, I built a strategy like I used to build records for the county, silently, with precision, legally. The numbness was gone, replaced by something colder, cleaner. Detachment is not the absence of emotion. It is its sharpening into something useful. She joked about my disappearance, but I was about to become the only name she could not erase. The cabin was on the edge of an abandoned logging road, halfway between a dry creek bed and the kind of forest that makes your skin itch with the memory of ticks. The porch sagged like an old man's spine. The chimney leaned just enough to make you nervous in a storm. But it had two things my old house never had: silence and space to think. I used a post office box 2 towns over under a variation of my middle name and registered with the electric company as a seasonal occupant. No digital footprints, no Ring doorbells, no Alexa waiting to rat me out. Just paper, radio static, and the occasional visit from a raccoon who thought the shed was his. And yet I knew everything. I knew the day she started using her maiden name on Facebook. I knew when she posted her first photo with the caption, "Healing is not linear," even though the only thing healing was her bank account after selling my golf clubs on eBay. I knew when Brad 2.0 made his debut in her stories, a tall, bearded real estate visionary with a smile that screamed trust fund and driving under the influence. They posed on the steps of my house, our house. But the caption read, "Nothing like a demo day with my favorite partner in crime. New beginnings, renovation glamour." It was then that I paused, I zoomed in, I looked past the smug smiles and matching flannels. And there it was, my old ceramic address plaque still nailed to the brick. The house had not just been invaded, it had been repurposed. She did not move out, she moved me out. But here's the trick. Brad did not know what he was standing on. They were planning renovations, new countertops, an open concept, maybe even a hot tub in the backyard where I used to fix the lawnmower, but the foundation was still mine, legally speaking. Because a decade ago, when we refinanced the house for her dream of a creative studio that never left the inspiration board, the title got complicated. I added certain clauses, standard stuff. She said, "Just sign it, honey." So I did. And then I filed a few things on my own, quietly. The same way someone files a will when they realize the people around them don't plan on living forever with them. She never asked what deferred debt collateral was or why I kept a copy in my safe deposit box. Meanwhile, Brad started his little home renovation YouTube blog, From Drab to Fab, How We Rebuild Dreams. Each video started with him swinging a sledgehammer like Thor on amphetamines, while she clapped in her expensive Lululemons and said things like, "Out with the old, out with the old." The irony. Public records started to update. Permits requested, appraisal requests. They were planning a refinancing. She was finally going to get my name off everything. That is what she thought. But remember that deferred debt? It was tied to a personal loan I had absorbed when she defaulted on her boutique lease in 2016. The one where she accidentally opened a line of credit in both our names. I paid it off. She forgot, but the contract did not. I transferred the debt to a dormant lien agreement 2 years ago. Something that only needed reactivation and the county's stamp to come roaring back to life. They thought they were building equity. I saw it as them decorating a house they did not own. I watched their TikToks. I listened to their smug comments about fixing broken bones and broken homes. He called himself a property alchemist. She laughed as if she had never cried when our dishwasher broke. I kept watching. I kept documenting. Not to punish, not to ruin, just to set the record straight. Grim amusement does not hit like laughter. It hits like standing outside your own funeral, drinking coffee, listening to people misremember your life. But I was not dead. I was preparing the paperwork. They had plans, but I had rights. And sooner or later, one of us would show up on the title. I was not always the ghost in this story. Before I was the man who disappeared, I was the man who knew how things worked. Not in the romantic sense. God knows that dried up somewhere between her essential oils phase and her collection of vegan leather boots, but in the legal sense of the municipal tax code. When she still looked at me like a person and not a sticky note she forgot to throw away, I worked in title research and municipal records auditing for the county. 8 years crawling through public access microfiche systems and forgotten plat maps does things to a man. You learn where the cracks are and how to fold a document just right so it slips through those cracks with your name still legible on the other side. And I had folded many. Flashback to 2015. Her boutique venture had failed. Something about the foot traffic being seasonally misaligned with her vision board. Translation. She signed a 5-year lease in a neighborhood full of vape shops and dollar stores, thinking she was opening an H&M. We got a secured loan. Naturally, she cried in the bank parking lot when they pulled out the paperwork. She told me I was her rock, her only constant. I signed because that is what men like me did back then, but I kept a copy of everything with the terms of the original promissory note that, thanks to a clause I had insisted on, allowed the debt to be transferred to the property's value instead of a cash repayment. She barely blinked. Legal jargon, she called it. That was the first domino. Jump to 2019. She wanted to refinance. She said we needed a bigger kitchen. I pushed back. She pushed harder. Do you not want this family to grow? Funny. By then we were not even sleeping in the same room. But I agreed on one condition, to consolidate everything under a joint trust. I sold it to her as a tax move for estate simplification. She liked the sound of that word, estate. It made her feel like we were playing house in downtown Abbey. She never read the fine print, and I embedded language so dry, so bureaucratic, it might as well have been written in lint. A clause that allowed me to file for equitable lien rights in the event of abandonment, neglect, or dissolution of the partnership. It was not divorce-proof, it was not foolproof, but it was useful. Now, sitting in my cabin, I opened the folder and spread the documents out like tarot cards. The boutique's promissory note, the refinancing agreement, the trust structure, her rushed, lazy signatures, with little hearts over the eyes, as if she were autographing someone else's downfall. And everything was still valid, dormant, but valid. So I made a call. Not to a lawyer. Those people bleed you slowly. I called Gary Lanford at the county clerk's office. The guy owed me a favor since I caught a filing error that saved his ass during a state audit. Gary, I said, remember that trust we filed in 2019? I need to file a lien against the primary asset under the debt transfer provision. He mumbled. Are you sure about this? Not a bit, I said. But it is clean and it is time. He looked it up. He confirmed the clause with a quiet admiration in his voice. So, You really built the whole mousetrap. No, I did not say. I just put the cheese. Within a week, I had filed a notice of interest, then a debt transfer acknowledgement, and then a lien claim under Provision 12C of our trust agreement. Signed, sealed, and registered in the system like a ghost entering a cathedral. No fanfare, no drama, just precision. She and Brad would never see it coming because people like them only read the headlines. And I had buried the news in the footnotes. That is the funny thing about being ignored your whole life. People think silence means absence, but I was louder than ever. I just wrote my name in an ink they never thought to look for. They staged the house like for a Better Homes and Wrecked Homes photo shoot. Wide-angle shots, open windows with sheer curtains billowing like a low-budget Tupperware ad. She wore a linen jumpsuit and smiled as if she had not turned every room in that place into a weapon to make me feel invisible for 5 years. Brad 2.0 narrated the video with all the grace of a drunk real estate agent at a boat show. Welcome to our latest flip. This charming 4-bedroom ranch features sustainably enhanced vibes and custom aura touches, curated by my beautiful partner. She waved at the camera as if she were Miss Congeniality and not Miss 2 mortgage payments behind. I watched everything on a disposable laptop, drinking gas station coffee from a chipped mug that said, "Number 1 Dad," a small, cruel souvenir from a life that used to include Father's Day cards before she decided I was redundant. The video racked up views. People loved the before and after. They never asked who lived in it before. The listing went up on Redfin with a breathtaking price. Brad labeled it a luxury gem for discerning couples. I had to pause the video when he actually said luxury. Jesus. In one clip, she was in what used to be my office. Now a zen room filled with succulents and vague quotes in cursive frames. "This is where we visualize peace," she said. "I used to do our bills in that room." She used to scream about how my Excel spreadsheets were killing her creativity. Peace, huh? Then came the first showing, then the second, then the offer over asking price. She posted a boomerang of the champagne pop. Hashtag manifestation works. Hashtag new chapter ahead. Hashtag gratitude. Hashtag property queen. It was then that things got fun. The real estate agent, an over-caffeinated 30-something named Skylar, called with some routine paperwork updates. She had run a title check as part of the standard closing preparation. No big deal, nothing unusual, just protocol. Until it was not, because there it was, in black and white. Lien holder, my full name, filed 6 weeks ago, authority, debt transfer provision, red. Clause 12C. Trustee acknowledgement, verified. Skylar flagged it. She sent a concerned email with the words clouded title and must be resolved before closing. Brad dismissed it at first. Probably a clerical error, some database glitch. "We will handle it." Skylar said, "It is not a glitch, it is a legal filing. The system will not process title insurance with this in effect." I imagine that is when she stopped sipping her green juice and started dialing numbers. Brad called his finance guy. She called her mother. The mother called Jesus and the bank. The bank did what banks do when something does not add up. They froze everything. The escrow paused. Transfer on hold. Deposit in limbo. No drama, no screaming, just silence in the form of legal inertia, a kind of quiet power. It was then that the panic started. Not full-blown yet, not the meltdown that would come later. This was the wobble, the confusion, the dawning realization that the invisible man had fingerprints after all. She posted less that week. No selfies, no motivational quotes, just a blurry photo of her dog and the word tough as the caption. Brad's YouTube video disappeared. His playlist, Next Flip, went dark. Somewhere, between their laughter and the granite countertops, they forgot something. I may have left the house, but I never left the deed. He overdid it with the afternoon mail, tucked between a West Elm catalog and a flyer for teeth whitening. A plain white envelope with her name written in a font too formal to be spam, but too impersonal to be bad news. She opened it in the kitchen, barefoot, standing on the new flooring she had chosen to make the space feel less taut. Inside, a single, double-spaced page in business letter format. Subject, title irregularity on property sale. Dear Ms. Hastings, this letter is to inform you of an encumbrance on the title regarding the sale of 48 Meadow Hollow Lane. A recorded lien has been located during the final transaction review. Due to the nature of the lien, Approval must be obtained from the lien holder prior to the distribution of funds or transfer of the deed. We advise you to consult your legal representative immediately. Sincerely, Mid-State Title Trust. She blinked twice. Reread the sentence. Approval must be obtained. Whose approval? She video called Brad, who answered while on a shirtless run. Because of course he did. Just call Mark, he panted. He will know. Probably some junk lien from a utility company. We will sort it out. So she called Mark, her lawyer/golf buddy, who once bragged about getting his real estate license just to have an edge in divorce court. She sent him a scan of the letter. He called her back 20 minutes later, his voice quiet, as if he were still processing what he was reading. Okay, he said. I'm going to find out who filed it. Probably a bank. Could be an old home equity line of credit. These things pop up. It should not take long. She made herself a smoothie. She sat on the stool, Googled, what is a lien? She read a Reddit thread about title locks. Most people said it was simple. A misunderstanding, a check mark in the wrong box. Nothing a good lawyer could not make disappear. That night she opened a bottle of Chardonnay and told Brad. It is fine. He shrugged. Probably just a clerical error. Great. Let us go out for dinner tomorrow. Let us celebrate in advance. She went to bed imagining the next house, the bigger one, with the sunroom. The next morning, 9:15 a.m., her phone pinged. A PDF from Mark. Subject, lien report. She opened it, her eyes scanning quickly, looking for words she understood. Release. Resolved. Removal. Instead, she saw, lien holder, Todd Hastings, type of lien, equitable/contractual, filed under Clause 12C, date of filing, 6 weeks ago, Associated Trust, Hastings Revocable Marital Trust. She froze. Her stomach dropped so hard the glass in her hand tilted and hit the edge of the counter. It cracked, rolled, and shattered on the floor like a punctuation mark. She stared at the name Todd Hastings, not a bank, not a credit union. Her ex-husband. She sat down slowly. No music, no phone ringing, no Brad in the background making protein shakes. Just her and that PDF. Her eyes scanned the words again, and now her lawyer's voice made sense. Approval must be obtained. The approval of the man she said had disappeared. The man she silenced with her taunts. The man she erased from her Instagram, from her bedroom, from her whole damn life plan, but not from the deed. Her hand trembled. Then she reached for the counter to steady herself. The blender light was blinking in the background. The refrigerator was humming. Everything in that house, the granite, the dimmer switches, the live, laugh, love sign, suddenly seemed to be sitting on top of a grave she had forgotten to bury. A ghost had not just returned, he had filed the paperwork. First she tried the phone, she searched her contacts. His number was still saved as old, like a broken appliance you never get around to throwing out. She dialed. 3 rings, then a robotic voice. This number has been disconnected or is no longer in service. She stared at the screen. She redialed the same message, twice more, the same dead tone. Then came the email. She wrote in the subject line, "Call me now." The body was short. What the hell is this lien? Remove it. I'm not playing games. Sent. 30 seconds later. Delivery failure. No such recipient. She blinked hard. Her mouth dry. She tried his old work email. Bounce back. Facebook message. Account deleted. Instagram. Vanished. LinkedIn. This profile is no longer available. She turned to Brad. He is untraceable, she said, pacing. He has deleted everything. Brad was not listening. He was already on the phone with his mortgage broker, pacing with one hand gripping his hair as if trying to keep the roof of his life from peeling off. It is your ex, not mine, he hissed into the phone. Why the hell is my credit hanging on a guy who has not shown his face in a year? She grabbed her keys and stormed out in yoga pants and rage. By the time she got to Mark's law office, his boutique firm with cheap leather chairs and a dusty diploma from a college she had never heard of, she did not wait for the receptionist. She walked straight in. Fix it. Mark did not even look up from his keyboard. You are not on the lien, he said flatly. You cannot fix it. He can. Her voice broke. Then get him to release it. Mark stood up slowly, went to the filing cabinet, pulled out a hard copy of the lien, and dropped it in front of her like a dead fish. Section 12C, he said. That is the clause he triggered. It gives him full discretion to withhold or allow the sale. She scanned it, her eyes jumping as if trying to escape the paper. This was years ago. This should not even count anymore. Mark raised an eyebrow. You signed it. He did too. It is valid. The county accepted it, and unless he voluntarily withdraws it, the sale is frozen. She sat down slowly, as if gravity had tripled at that moment. Brad called again. She ignored it. She could picture him now, his jaw tight, his calculator app open, realizing just how far they had stretched themselves based on her assumptions and his ego. They had maxed everything out. New appliances financed with no money down. Back deck on a home improvement credit card. Even the stupid wine fridge was on a promotional plan they had no intention of paying off. And now, no buyer, no closing, no release of funds, just her ex-husband's name. Sitting at the end of every document like a cigarette burn on their new white furniture. Mark sighed, leaned back. He holds the lien. He can now stall or block the sale for as long as he wants. Weeks, months, even years, if he feels like being vindictive. She swallowed. You mean he can just freeze everything? Mark did not blink. I mean he already has. Her mouth opened, closed without a sound. Panic does not always come with screaming. Sometimes it settles in your chest like wet cement, spreading slowly, paralyzing everything it touches. She was no longer in control. And for the first time since she laughed at his silence, she understood. He did not need to shout. He just needed to sign. The marble floors of the regional bank office were designed to intimidate. Cold, clinical, reflective enough to make you correct your posture. She clicked in on heels she had not worn since her engagement party, wearing the blazer she used to call her power jacket. Back when she thought business was about tone and not terms. She had rehearsed every line in the car. We are here to resolve a clerical error. This is a good faith meeting. We are ready to make this go away. She even practiced her smile. Just enough warmth to seem cooperative, just enough chill to maintain the upper hand. Brad followed her, less polished, more nervous. The collar of his shirt refused to sit right, and the sweat under his arms was starting to betray the eucalyptus deodorant he swore by. The receptionist led them to a small conference room. Frosted glass, long table, a folder neatly placed at each seat, and at the far end of the table, already seated, already calm, was Todd. A navy blazer, no tie, crisp shirt, clean shaven, hands folded loosely in front of him, as if he had been waiting for this meeting his whole life and had somehow managed to arrive early to his own revenge. She stopped short. Her breath caught. Brad did not notice. He was too busy looking for a charger. Todd stood up, did not smile, did not speak, just looked at her like a man studying a painting he once loved and now finds tacky. The bank officer, a middle-aged woman with reading glasses and a pen that clicked with bureaucratic menace, broke the silence. Thank you all for coming. Let us address the title lock. She nodded towards Todd. Brad stumbled into his chair and finally sat down next to her. The officer pulled out a file. Mr. Hastings has provided documentation confirming a legal lien under Clause 12C of the marital trust. Filed, signed, and processed without objection at the time of submission. She opened her mouth, but the officer held up a hand. We have reviewed the documents. His rights are valid. Todd still had not said a word. Instead, he reached into his slim briefcase. Of course he had a briefcase, and slid a new folder across the table. No dramatic gestures, just a quiet final offering. Inside, a breakdown of the debt claim. Certified copies of the trust. Notarized lien agreement. A letter of intent. The officer glanced through it. She nodded. Mr. Hastings is offering release contingent on full acquisition of the property via the established trust assets. In short, he is buying the house outright. She blinked. What? That is our house. Todd looked at her for the first time, not with anger, not even with pity, just with absence. Brad leaned towards her, whispering just loud enough for everyone to hear. You said he was irrelevant. She felt her stomach churn, her face flush, but she still straightened her back. Well, we don't accept that. We can counteroffer, we can negotiate. The bank officer did not blink. You are not in a position to counteroffer. The lien holder has legal priority. If he chooses to maintain the lien, the sale is stalled indefinitely. If he buys, the title is transferred. That is the crossroads. Her voice broke. You mean he can just take it? Todd finally spoke. His voice was firm, measured. I'm not taking anything. I'm reassuming ownership. You gave it away. I'm just cleaning up your mess. The room fell silent. No screaming. No drama. Just the sound of a woman realizing that the man she had banished with her taunts had never left the building. He had just changed floors. The officer tapped her pen one last time. "We will give you 24 hours to respond. After that, the trust will take over." They stood up. Todd collected his folder, buttoned his blazer, and for the first time in a year, as he walked past her, she could smell the cologne she had once picked out for him. She used to say it made him smell like security. Now it just smelled like judgment, and he did not even have to raise his voice to pronounce it. She followed him out like an unwinding string doll, her heels wobbling on the cement, her voice barely keeping up with her breath. The bank doors hissed shut behind them, like a polite goodbye from a world that no longer belonged to her. "Todd," she called, the panic breaking the last of her composure. "Wait, can we talk?" He stopped at the edge of the parking lot, right next to a black SUV she did not recognize. Clean, rented, no clutter, no signs of a man on the run, just a man who had already arrived. She walked faster now, her hair whipping across her face, clutching the lapels of her blazer as if they could anchor her to a reality that was slipping through her French manicured fingers. "You cannot just take the house," she said, trying to keep her voice from cracking. "We lived there. We built that life together. I made that place what it is now." Todd turned to face her, his eyes calm, but distant, as if he were looking at a reflection in water. Not at the woman who once swore to love him until she found someone with better Wi-Fi and brighter teeth. She moved closer. "Please, Brad." He did not know. It was not his fault. We just needed a fresh start. I thought you were gone. I thought you wanted out." He said nothing at first. He just looked past her, at the building behind them, where the fluorescent lights of the bank flickered like dying stars in an empty galaxy. Then, slowly, he spoke. "You said if I disappeared, nobody would notice." His voice was not angry, not bitter, it was surgical. Turns out the house noticed. She blinked. He let the silence settle like dust on a forgotten picture frame. Then he pulled a single sheet of paper from his jacket. A trust execution order. Signed, notarized, filed. "I will release the lien," he continued. "Not for you. Not for your boyfriend. For me." Her breath hitched. "What does that mean?" "It means," he said, walking past her, "that I already bought the house through the trust. Clean title, full purchase. The bank confirmed it 10 minutes ago." She turned to look back at the building, then back at him. "No, that is not. It cannot be legal." "It is not just legal," he said, unlocking the SUV. "It is completed." She did not scream. She did not fall to her knees like in the movies. She just stood there with her jaw slightly agape. The kind of stillness that only comes when your brain realizes too late that it has run out of oxygen. Todd got into the SUV, the engine coming to life with a quiet finality, but before he drove off, he rolled down the window. "You wanted me to disappear," he said. "I did. You just forgot to check what I took with me." She watched him drive away, the tires whispering against the pavement like a final breath. 15 minutes later, a moving truck pulled up in front of the house. Not hers, his. 2 men in uniform got out and began unloading boxes labeled in a clean marker script. Office, Hastings Trust, tools, workshop, books, cabin collection. She stood on the porch in the same linen jumpsuit from the house tour video, but this time without the filter, without the champagne, without the man who once promised her equity and ended up bankrupt in both credit and character. And as the movers walked past her as if she did not exist, the last box came down the ramp. Living room, ghost. And she understood. Some ghosts don't haunt you. They own the deed.